Howdy ho, peoples. How you doing? It's Carpo, kicking back. And I'm going to propose a question today, as I always do. Why are we as a species, why are we as humanity so obsessed with weaknesses and negative aspects? You know, this is something that I think a lot of people either completely have realized and noticed and observe all the time, like I do, or maybe haven't even given much thought to. And so I think it's a thing that I need to address, because those who haven't thought about it may find that this may help them gain a little bit of insight. And in all humility here, this is something that I've realized only really over the last 5 years or so, and have really made it a point to take note of. For example, when a celebrity fails, everyone's there to notice and watch them fall. This is just a metaphor, an example for the entirety of it. Very few people are out there praiseworthy talking about the great things a person did. When a rich person does something to wrong his people, or a politician does something to wrong his constituents or his state, people are right there to talk about it. When someone does something good or helps out or donates, very few people talk about it. And everybody can see this reflected in the news. You'll see this one happy, good story about a kid who got helped out by somebody, and then 10 stories about somebody who got murdered and how messed up and corrupt our system is. Well, although people may blame the media for these problems, it's not the media, and this is what I've realized. I once thought it was the media, and then I started to take accountability for my own thoughts and for who I am and my fellow people, and realizing what people want to hear. It's not that they want to hear the negative, but by hearing negative, it allows them to revel in their good luck, as opposed to seeing a whole bunch of people who have had really good luck and say, why can't I have that? And I know that may sound short-sighted. This is only part of the situation. What it really is that emotional attachment to negative feelings, negative emotions, or fear are very attractive to people subconsciously. Fear is a very strong driving factor in much of the world's woes, if you will. Whether it be fear through religion, fear of political gain, fear of the rich, fear of the poor, it's always fear and xenophobia. Fear of what we don't understand because we refuse to understand. And when I started to realize this and was able to really look at things for what they are, I saw that the world's not such a bad place. And I became the kind of guy who starts to say, hey, things aren't so bad. And I got a lot of feedback, negative feedback towards my attitude towards life because of that, by people who say you are just being ignorant, you're fooling yourself, you're telling yourself that life is good, you're telling yourself that your country is great, you're telling yourself. But the reality is, yada yada yada, everything's corrupt, the system's fucked, it's a new world order. And I understand that point of view, but the one I'm trying to convey that I have a hard time conveying is that you're stuck in your own reality. You and me have our own realities to live in. And living in fear and constant, looking around and seeing what's wrong, it's kind of a defensive mechanism, and I understand that. We have to defend ourselves against injustice. And totally ignoring the issues is just as foolish and ignorant. Then we're never going to get anything resolved if people didn't stand up for what they believe in. What it is it's a matter of saying, I'm going to be personally free within my own mind and within, and take advantage and see the goodness, the freedoms I do have, instead of the things I don't have. For example, I can still walk down the street where I live without having cops harass me at midnight. Maybe sometimes they will, who knows. But there are places where there's curfews, a woman in my country can still walk down dressed as she wants to without, having to have her face covered. These are just small examples of other injustices in other places that many people take as the norm because it's customary. And so I understand the legal system, the laws, and how they're implemented, and how it's not one big conspiracy just to keep us down, but many of the bigger laws, basically what they do is they implement a law through a loophole in an 80-page thing trying to say it's for the people, and there are a few corrupt bastards out there ruining it for everyone, but the most of society just wants to live normally and happily. I guess a good example of this is the Muslim culture. You know, I've heard so many people say we need to just bomb the Middle East. Things like that, statements like that to me are just completely ignorant. You know, bomb the Middle East? Do you even understand what the Middle East is? You know, it's a grouping of countries, you know, with the Kurds right in the middle of it, which were good progressive people, you know. And all of the chaos going on there is so much older than our country, and, you know, it's like the new kid on the block stepping in like America did and giving ourselves a bad name. Whatever we try to do now, we've made a bad first impression as a country. That's all there is to it. You know, history will go on. America will fall as a superpower. China might take over. You know, I understand that the world is fucked up. That's what I'm saying. And that I'm going to be living in a future, my children are going to be living in a really rough future. It's probably going to have far less rights and far less food and resources, and therefore far more angst, warfare, and death. And there was a time when I said I'd never bring kids into this world, but I realized they're going to be so much stronger than we are. If anybody's going to change the world, it's going to be the kids, because they can adapt much better than we can as adults, because we're still stuck in the past. We're still worried about things that happened 50, 100 years ago. You know, we're still, you know, there are still people claiming that, you know, the Holocaust never happened. And there will always be Holocaust deniers. I use that example because it's such an extreme example of something that if a person wasn't living in a time when something happened, it's easy to dispute it. And therefore we create a picture of history, of reality that's totally skewed, that we think everything has been done as a lie to fool the people, that nobody's out to help each other, that everyone is suspicious. And it stems from a deep-seated suspicion of life in general, I guess. I'm not sure, but I'm hopeful that we can get over that and just look at each other as people and remember who we are. You know, remember whatever that may be, but just remember that time when you could actually just meet somebody on the street and like meet them and talk to them, introduce yourself, and not be suspicious about their motives or who they are. You know, not just look at people with disdain or fear, you know, because of what we're fed constantly. And not just by the media, not by a machine, but by our own machine. And that's what I you know, wanted to get to, was the idea that when I said the media, you know, it's not the media's fault. It's because the people demand entertainment, and fear is entertainment. So when we stop demanding something that's so, you know, useless, we'll get something better. It was a good example is when I was at Soak with my friend, and we were sitting there, and he was talking about, he's like, we were talking about people who are obsessed with just useless stuff and talk about just, you know, celebrities and gossip and crap. And he said, like those other people, he said something, oh, the Kardashians, and he says, who the hell, you know, it's like, why do people even talk about her? She never did anything, they never did anything at all, they're just a rich bitch, you know. And I said, but you just talked about her. And that was the moment where we're like, see, this is the problem, you know, we all get sucked into it, you know, by even mentioning it. I said, it's society's job just never to say or utter the things that we complain about, you know. Don't mention something you don't want to hear about, or else you're mentioning it. I don't know. It's a hard thing to explain. We just need to back off and refuse to be interested in the negative news and start asking for something more and asking ourselves for something more. So, peace. I'm out.